Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Pastor this morning, and I'm glad that you are here with us today. And I'll tell you what, I hope you enjoyed the service last night as we have our special revival here going on. And don't forget, we have service again tonight, 6:30. Come on out and join us. And tomorrow night, Saturday night, then on Sunday as well. And so we've got exciting things going on here at the church as we are gearing up and getting ready to launch out. And I hope and pray that God will use this time that we have in this revival to really stir our hearts for the work of soul winning. I believe it's something that we can always be conscious of, something that we can always use to kind of take to another level here in our Christian life. As we move forward, get ready for our 20th year, getting ready for our campaign coming up here, I'm excited about what God's going to do with the Lincoln Baptist Church. Now, don't forget, tomorrow we do have our Soul Winning Marathon, and we'll be going out from 10 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon. We will take a lunch break in between, and we'll stop at a fast food restaurant or someplace like that to have a lunch break in our soul winning time. But I would encourage you to come on out and join us for that if you're able to. And if you let me know ahead of time, that would be great. That way I know to plan for you as we get ready for tomorrow. Then on Sunday, it is Resurrection Sunday, and we are looking forward to having everybody out. We will have, of course, in the morning, after the morning service, we're going to have our Easter egg hunt for the kids. We're looking forward to that. And I got a lot of candy for the kids. And so looking forward to having them come and find that after the service on Sunday morning. As we get ready for summer, I mentioned last week that the weather starts to change. Last week we talked about this thing of nakedness on the broadcast and how our society seems to, as the weather gets warmer, our society begins to become more indecent in how they dress. Last week we talked about what the Bible has to say about nakedness and what nakedness is. Today I want to take just a few minutes to kind of build off of that and talk about modesty. Modesty and how a Christian appears is truly something that is very important, I believe, to God. Your appearance as a Christian is your testimony before those who see you. Therefore, your testimony ought to be one that professes godliness as a Christian. Now, when it comes to this thing of modesty, there are a lot of opponents to the concept of Christian modesty, and whole books have been written scoffing at what our idea is of good modesty in the Christian life. And there's a lot of pushback, even among independent fundamental Baptists. There's a lot of pushback to what exactly modesty is. Now, modesty, when it comes to apparel, modesty in itself, the word itself simply means without excess. However, God took that word modesty and he applied it to our apparel, or specifically, I should say, to a woman's apparel. And I'm going to share the verse with you here in just a moment. Modesty is something that truly should be applied to how you and I appear as Christians. Now, it is not right for a man to be immodest. However, when the scripture speaks of modesty, which the word is only used one time in scripture, it focuses on the appearance of the lady. So as we talk about that here today, we also are going to focus on the appearance of the lady. But I do want to preface that by saying it doesn't mean that men have a license to be immodest. Doesn't mean that men have a license to reveal too much as it is, as we would say, or to be naked, as we would say. But truthfully, there is something special, I believe, about a lady who is dressed modestly. I want to read you here what was written by Daniel Webster. Of course, he wrote the first dictionary, and I often use the 1828 dictionary. This excerpt came from the 1828 dictionary under the word modesty and what modesty means. It says, in females, modesty has the like character as in males, but the word is used also as synonymous with chastity or purity of manners. In a sense, modesty results from purity of mind. Unaffected modesty is the sweetness and charm of female excellence, the richest gem in the diadem of their honor. I thought that was very well put, and I think it truly hits the mark of what modesty is supposed to be for a lady. The Bible tells us here in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 9 and 10, it says, in like manner also that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broidered hair, or gold, or pearls, or costly array, but which becometh women professing godliness, with good works. We find that women are supposed to adorn themselves in modest apparel. That is to say, apparel that is not an excess. Apparel that is not too much. We could say even apparel that does not reveal too much. As we look at this passage, a lot of times it has been discounted by people. You say, well, these expectations that are expressed in these verses are unfair or not right for a woman. And a lot of times people point to that word shamefacedness and they say, well, see, a woman should not have to be ashamed of her face. However, those who use that definition to describe the word shamefacedness do not know what the word shamefacedness means. And in fact, I'm going to share with you here in just a moment what shamefacedness means. However, when it comes to modesty, we looked at last week in regards to nakedness, that nakedness is the shame of mankind. Therefore, modesty is there to cover the shame. Yet our society has taken modesty and tried to make a mockery of it. They call it, they put it under the terms, I know this is a broader term than just modesty, but they put it under the term of body shaming. But truthfully, the truth of the matter is that to cover your body is to cover the shame of your nakedness. It is not body shaming. It is simply modesty. That is what modesty is. Let's talk about shamefacedness here for just a moment. Shamefacedness does not refer to having a shameful face. It does, however, speak to the attitude with which a lady ought to don her apparel. This word shamefacedness, it simply means bashfulness, somewhat excessive in modesty. What shamefacedness is it is the attitude with which a lady puts on and carries herself with her apparel. There's a bashfulness that you're not going to reveal too much. It's the opposite of forwardness. So many women today in our society dress very forward, and they're very forward in their attitude. But yet God said that a lady ought to adorn herself in modest apparel. Not only that, but also to have shamefacedness. It's the attitude with which she carries herself in that apparel. A lady who carries herself with shamefacedness is one who says, okay, where is the line of what is appropriate? And let me just go a little further than that line. Let me give you an example. We often say that a lady's dress ought to come down at least just below the knee. A lady who carries herself with shamefacedness says, I want to make sure that I'm modest. So she goes down farther than that with the length of her skirt. This is shamefacedness. It is the quote-unquote excess of modesty. That's erring on the side of caution, if you will. It is the attitude with which she carries herself in her dress. So when we talk about modesty, part of modesty truly is shamefacedness. Matter of fact, the verse says right there in, in like manner also that women adorn themselves in modest apparel with shamefacedness. God not only intended that a lady would adorn herself in modest apparel, but that she would do so with shamefacedness and sobriety. Sobriety, this word simply speaks to the behavior with which the woman conducts herself in her modest apparel. So we've seen the attitude with which she conducts herself, and now the behavior with which she conducts herself. The word sobriety means serious, but not sad or melancholy. A lady who is modest in her apparel and attitude also ought to be modest in her behavior. That is, that she carries and conducts herself with honor. And I believe, truly, I'm going to refer back to what Noah Webster said. Unaffected modesty is the sweetness and charm of female excellence, the richest gem in the diadem of their honor. Now, I understand that the dictionary is not inspired, but I do believe those are truly great words for us to think upon. That a lady has an honor that she should protect. This honor is protected with modesty, it's protected with her attitude, and it is protected with her behavior. Then the verse goes on here in 1 Timothy. And it says, shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broidered hair or gold or pearls or costly array. Now, I've heard people take this verse and say, see, a woman's not supposed to wear jewelry. I do not believe that's true. I believe that it's fine for a woman to wear jewelry. I don't believe a man ought to wear jewelry, ought not wear earrings, he ought not wear a necklace, he ought not wear bracelets. I believe a man's jewelry ought to be confined to his wedding ring, or a ring, we could say, and a watch. Outside of that, I don't think a man should adorn himself in jewelry. But a woman wears a necklace and earrings and a ring and bracelets. However, then even a woman's jewelry can get excessive. So I believe God's saying here, listen, there should not be an excessiveness. Do you think you say, Pastor, are you trying to change the scriptures? No, I'm not trying to change the scriptures. God talked about adorning his own wife, and when he talked about adorning his wife, he said he would put earrings in her ears. If it was wrong for a woman to wear earrings, I don't believe that God would picture his own wife, Israel, and say he would adorn them with earrings in their ears. So for a lady to wear earrings, I don't believe is wrong at all or immodest at all. But it can be done in excess. I believe starting to pierce other parts of your body, I believe is excess. I believe to be gaudy with your jewelry is excess. I believe to be gaudy with your hair is excess. To have hair that is just too much. And all these things that are mentioned, with the golden broidered plating of the hair, the jewels, all those things that are in excess. Always remember this, for the ladies, God gave you a natural beauty that he intended should shine through. When you start taking on so much accessories to accessorize yourself, that you begin to diminish the natural beauty that God intended to shine through. And now it starts to become truly immodest or with excess. So therefore, the accessories that you use, whether it be how you do your hair or what jewelry that you wear, the makeup that you wear even, should be done not to try to change your beauty, but instead to complement the beauty that God gave you. This truly is what God intended, and I believe that when we come down then to verse number 10, it says, but which becometh women professing godliness with good works. Traditionally speaking, women who would be gaudy in their attire and use so much jewelry and everything would not have been considered godly women. They would have been considered desperate women. You see what I mean? Desperate, because they would do all of that stuff and have all that glitz and glitter to try to catch a guy's attention. God never intended that you have to have all of that to get either your man's attention or get a man's attention if you're not married. But if you are married, you should be only trying to get your man's attention. And so we find with this then that it affects our testimony. It affects our testimony because instead of having a testimony for a lady of modesty with shamefacedness and sobriety that is good for a woman of godliness to have, instead we find ourselves with the testimony of someone who is desperate. My friend, God's children never need to be desperate. And God's children should not look to disfigure the beauty that God has given them to have. That is what I have for you this morning. Just kind of carrying on along the same lines of our appearance as a Christian. Hey, don't forget, if you have a question that you would like us to take a look at here on Coffee with Pastor, again, I'm making no guarantees that whatever question sent will necessarily make it to the broadcast. But if you send one and I feel like it's one that our whole church would benefit from the answer to, I'll share it here on the broadcast. The email address to send that to is in the church bulletin, or you can, of course, respond to the church text line with your question. I'll take it, and if I don't answer it on the Coffee with Pastor, I will definitely try my best to answer you back personally. Thank you for watching today. Looking forward to seeing you at the services tonight. Looking forward to seeing you through the rest of this revival and on Easter Sunday coming up this week. God bless. Have a great rest of your day.